Watch how Manny Pacquiao destroyed this disturbed criminal. On November 13th, 2010, at the Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas, boxing fans witnessed a legendary match. Manny Pacquiao, already recognized as one of the best fighters of his era, faced a formidable opponent whose reputation inspired more fear than respect: Antonio Margarito. Margarito, known for his violent victories and shady controversies, was seen by many as the villain of the boxing world. His ruthless fighting style gave the impression that he did not always play by the rules in the ring, leading many to call him a criminal who used the sport as an excuse for his dark nature. Thus, this fight promised to be a true battle between good and evil. But who was Antonio Margarito, really? Nicknamed the Tijuana Tornado, Margarito was a Mexican fighter known for his formidable size and monstrous power, capable of knocking out almost any opponent. However, behind his success lay a shadow of criminal suspicions and accusations of foul play. Those who followed him closely could see that, more often than not, deception was just another tool in his strategy in the ring. At the peak of his career in 2009, his legacy changed forever. This was the year when his reputation as the villain reached its highest point, when he was caught preparing for a fight against Shane Mosley with plaster in his hand wraps, turning his fists into literal weapons. When his dirty trick was exposed just before the fight, the boxing world could not ignore the incident. After all, no one could be sure how many other opponents had suffered tragic defeats because of these weapons. After this incident, Margarito became a criminal in the eyes of the public, and a large number of boxing fans awaited a hero to step forward and bring him to harsh justice in the ring. When fans learned that Manny Pacquiao would be the one to fight this criminal, anticipation for retribution was high. However, Margarito did not abandon his sinister persona and chose to present himself as arrogant and overconfident. To him, this was not just a fight, it was an opportunity to humiliate a great fighter. During interviews, Margarito mocked Pacquiao, claiming he was too small to be considered a real opponent, and stating that this Filipino doesn't even deserve the chance to stand in the ring with him. At the press conference, Margarito did not hold back from making cruel and insulting remarks in an open attempt to ridicule Pacquiao's height and technique, referring to him as a toy that he promised to play with until it broke. The three-time world champion stood 4.5 inches taller than the Filipino, with a 6-inch reach advantage and weighing 15 pounds more on fight night. Meanwhile, Manny fully understood the great challenge before him and saw Margarito not just as a fighter, but as a predator whose evil was second nature. For Manny, this fight was more than just another match. It was a real opportunity to restore justice and teach a lesson to those who considered themselves above the rules. Fight summary. Fight night arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. Pacquiao entered the ring with a determined look, focused and ready to attack. Margarito, however, radiated arrogance, reveling in his role as the villain, expecting to destroy Manny the same way he had demolished many others. But from the very first seconds, it became evident that he had been too quick to jump to conclusions. As soon as the bell rang, Pacquiao's domination began. His solid defense pushed Margarito against the ropes while delivering fast and precise combinations. The Mexican's face quickly became a bloodied canvas after suffering a deep cut below his right eye, which would start to impair his vision by the middle of the round.
Determined that a drug test after the fight will have to
in his left jab.
And the last thing people expected to see was Antonio Margarito stand in the ring and boxing with Manny Pacquiao, but that's what's happening.
See, the physical side seems
his arms and head down.
Well, fighter.
And landed it on Margarito's face.
Margarito has shown a good jab, especially early in the round, but
with the jabs of Margarito's too.
In the second round, Pacquiao continued to assert his superiority over Margarito. However, Margarito showed how good he was at damage control, cruelly hurting Pacquiao on the counterattack.
For Antonio Margarito in round one, but he has had trouble getting rolling in the
Margarito has landed not only
inside by or left cross inside by Pacquiao.
The third round was crucial for Margarito. By preventing Pacquiao from securing an early knockout, his hopes of surviving the fight increased. Conserving his energy as much as possible, he seemed to be betting on wearing Manny down, patiently waiting for the right moment to counterattack with blows that could shorten his path to victory.
Another inside by Pacquiao landed on the chin. Corner there, then moves away. Now his back is against the ropes. Margarito has the action. Pacquiao hits him flush with a big left hand.
Manny did not allow himself to feel fear in the fourth round. Despite receiving counterattacks, the Filipino, as Margarito often called him, did not hold back in delivering a masterclass in boxing. He left the arrogant Mexican with no escape routes on multiple occasions.
I think Margarito's been seen around. I thought, oh, maybe
I give all 3 rounds to Pacquiao also.
I think you're Margarito's saying that Pacquiao's not
with almost every punch.
better and faster than Mosley, but he's not.
And he's beating Margarito up in this round. There's a huge welt under Margarito's right eye. He's backing Margarito up and speeds.
The fighters today, they punch at the target. Very seldom do they penetrate.
Margarito returned for the 5th round, still with enough energy to keep evading the cruelty of Pacquiao's fists with well-coordinated lateral movements. The lingering question was how this would make him look in the eyes of the judges. By the halfway point of the scheduled rounds, both fighters seemed to maintain the energy they had displayed in that fateful first round. Pacquiao remained determined to pave his own way to victory, while Margarito focused on not opening himself up enough to suffer serious damage.
The height of his career a few years ago was averaging in a brand new style as he's doing tonight. And when you start to get hit hard
and beat him up that way.
Afterward, I asked him what was most impressive. He said easy, the footwork. I've never seen any athlete. He's tasted for a moment the advantage of having Pacquiao against the ropes. This is Pacquiao's nightmare.
Pacquiao's dominance was becoming irreversible by the 7th round. While Margarito's offense showed occasional flashes of brilliance in some counterattacks, there was no doubt that the Mexican was dancing the dance of death to the Filipino's rhythm, an utter disgrace to the ancient Aztec warriors.
Comparative rounds, I thought Manny wanted.
Yeah, loves a good scrap.
But the bottom line is, you're right.
What we call a natural. Been getting with a good trainer that really improved him like Freddie did.
Well, I'll say this. I've covered boxing for 24 years.
You could see it possibly going to a 12-round decision only because of Margarito's size.
If I had a prediction, it was going to be that Pacquiao would win all 12 rounds.
I thought Pacquiao would stop Margarito right around the 6th or 7th.
The 8th round gave Pacquiao the chance to prove that he was not just a fighter of strength and power, but also of immense endurance. Although Margarito had tried to drain his energy up to that point, the Filipino refused to let anything diminish the effectiveness of his performance.
He played that we just showed.
Margarito banging him against the ropes here, trying to get to Pacquiao's body. It was a terrific, world-class, one-handed fight. That could change the fight. Pacquiao fighting back with his...
And here comes
and he turns it around and bangs Margarito viciously right on that badly bruised right eye.
That's his biggest factor, is fighting while he's tired.
And he's blocked
for Margarito. So far, this has been a measure of redemption because he's never stopped fighting his fight in spite of a fight.
Your own conclusions.
I talked to Miguel earlier today. Miguel said this was going to be a virgin.
The 9th round marked the beginning of the final stretch for both fighters. Perhaps, in Margarito's mind, surviving the scheduled rounds gave him a real chance at victory. However, in retrospect, his career had always been about survival, and hoping for a last-minute miracle was an almost impossible outcome.
He took the most punches he's ever taken in one round from a guy who
absorbed the punches a little better than a smaller guy, but a regular 140-pounder
stopped the fight because of that right eye, which is grotesque.
As the 10th round opened, Pacquiao knew there were less than 10 minutes left to close the fight. He did not hesitate to unleash his heavy artillery. Margarito had relied on the hope that, by this stage, he would be facing a slower, more vulnerable Manny, but he received the exact opposite. With rapid and powerful combinations, the Filipino demonstrated the strength of his heritage. The 11th round arrived, and Margarito was in serious trouble. Now, he was not only up against Pacquiao's relentless offense, but also against the judges' scorecards. Unofficially, rumors began circulating that the judges believed Margarito had not done enough to even deserve a loss by split decision. Margarito had fallen victim to the mistake of leaving the work for the last minute, and by the time he realized the extent of his miscalculation, the outcome of the fight was practically irreversible.
Gave away 17 pounds.
Right. He's a former Flying State Athletic Commission to make Margarito shave off the beard, which they would have done. Here, I want to use it as a target.
He's putting it on Margarito.
and physically fatigued both.
In his constant attempts to escape, he had drained enough of his own energy to prevent himself from launching a brutal offensive that could change the course of events. The infamous criminal had promised to destroy Pacquiao with his powerful right hand, ruthless uppercuts, or, in his own words, any punch that lands. Yet, in the end, he barely managed to stumble his way into the final round.
wants to keep fighting. Rather, look at me, I'm tough. He really wants to win the fight.
That's what he's saying to Cole.
But the ref, because as long as the guy's punching back.
Manuel, he's rearranging Margarito's face, and it may never look the same again.
He's being out-punched, but the referee has his way of a few more seconds for this.
He said no, wanted to fight to the finish. Same thing here, obviously.
After 11 grueling rounds, Pacquiao showed no signs of relinquishing control over the fight's pace, while Margarito no longer had the energy or strength left in his exhausted body to take it by force. His advantage in height, weight, and reach had turned to smoke, making him the most disappointing contender to ever step into Cowboy Stadium. Thus, it was no surprise to anyone when, at the end of the 12 scheduled rounds, Manny Pacquiao defeated Antonio Margarito by unanimous decision. Still, the boxing world roared in unison. The criminal had finally been brought to justice in the harshest and most agonizing way possible. Closing remarks. If you've made it this far, thank you. Remember, the best way to support my content is by leaving a like on the video. What do you think stopped Antonio Margarito from fulfilling his promises and ruthlessly finishing Manny Pacquiao? Does karma truly exist in boxing? I'll be reading your comments.